It's Wednesday, September 4th. Welcome to Market Foolery. I'm Matt Greer, and I am joined in studio by Motley Fool analysts Emily Flippen and Jim Mueller. Welcome. How are we doing?
We're doing fine, Mac.
Well, happy Wednesday. We got lots to talk about. Tesla trucks. There's some buzz. The buzz is growing that Tesla may be unveiling a pickup truck very, very soon. We'll get to that. And we're going to talk cheaper iPhones. Because turns out the more expensive iPhones not selling quite as well as they once did. But let's kick off with Google and reports that more than half of the U.S.'s state attorney generals are gearing up for an antitrust investigation into Google's advertising. Now, Emily, we're expecting an announcement, according to these reports, next week. And this happens against a context where there are a lot of other Google investigations. We've got a House Judiciary Committee looking into Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google. We've got a Justice Department reviewing big tech. Yeah, and we've got the EU. Where does it end? And what do you make of the state investigations?
Well, first of all, I love covering rumors on this show. Although it seems like these rumors, given all the context you just described, might have a little bit more veracity to them. It's no surprise that they're going after Google. And mind you, it could be other companies as well. So Google, obviously an advertising monolithic company. But the other big guy is Facebook as well. So I don't think any big advertising company is really out of the crosshairs here. But it begs the question of what are we looking for, right? What is the outcome from investigations? Is it a breakup of companies like Google? Is it a breakup of companies like Facebook? I tend to think not. I think that's what some lawmakers may want, but the issue does become partisan at a point. So I think that what we're looking at here is probably going to be a stifling of these companies' ability to acquire, to innovate, to expand their market share when it's already so great. When people think about Google, it may not occur to them how big it is in terms of its advertising business. But Google not only essentially owns search in the United States, but they also own YouTube. So all the ad-based, videos you see on YouTube are also coming from Google. Google owns AdSense and AdWords, all of these platforms that roll with advertising and external sites as well. And they're advertising their own products on top of it. So it really does pose a lot of conflicts of interest.
Okay, so let's get at that because I want to share a quote from Louisiana's Attorney General Jeff Landry. And this is about what we think is going to come down with all the state attorney generals next week. Here's what the Louisiana Attorney General has to say. He says, quote, Google gets to pick winners and losers because the system is rigged in their favor. Continuing down this road will kill online publishing, or Google will control who stays and who goes.
It's a pretty bold statement there.
It really is.
That's why I shared it.
Yeah. But I have to wonder if some of this thinking isn't stuck in the 20th century, even in the 19th century. Mm-hmm. The breakup of Ma Bell, the breakup of Standard Oil, those are all 20th century stories and early 20th century for the Standard Oil. And that's more where the monopoly was built up and imposed upon the customers. Here with Google and Facebook and the others, the monopoly is being chosen by the customers in that for Amazon, people are going to Amazon to buy. People are advertising, going to Google to search, and Google's search engine is the best, or near the best if it's not the best. And so the advertisers are going where the eyeballs are. So the company is not imposing the monopoly.
So no harm is being done?
I wouldn't.
Harm's happening.
Harm's probably happening. And you can argue that they're collecting too much data, but people also freely volunteer that data. They turn on the tracking on their iPhones or smartphones so that they can get the advertising for the stores they're walking by and so on. So how much harm is being done, whether regulations need to come in and force a breakup or something like that. I don't know. It's a sticky issue for sure, and we have to figure out what the best outcome is. But I'm not necessarily convinced a breakup is the solution.
Okay, so I'm a Google or Alphabet shareholder. Should this weigh on my investment thesis at all, or do you just see this as noise?
Unfortunately, I think the space is almost naturally monopolistic in the sense that Google is the best aggregator of eyes, aggregator of search, and that's as a result where the advertising revenue goes. So as a shareholder, it's almost a good thing in the sense that it shows the power that the company has over the consumer. Despite the fact that we have all these issues, you as a consumer are still probably going to be searching with Google, right? So while I am concerned about the penalties, we just saw a penalty come through for Google. I think it was they reached an agreement with the FTC over some advertising issues they had geared towards kids. And the penalty was a $170 million fine. That's less than 1% of their advertising revenue for the quarter. So as a shareholder, when I see this relatively light slap on the wrist for what could be a big, not only privacy issue, but advertising issue aimed at kids, it does make me wonder if the penalties and when the penalties come down, if they're actually going to have a material impact on the business.
Slap on the wrist. That's a slap on the pinky.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Tesla. Let's talk Tesla trucks. Now, a tweet this summer from Tesla founder Elon Musk said that a Tesla pickup truck could be just 2 to 3 months away. So kind of cryptic. We don't know exactly when, but the anticipation is building. And Musk has already mentioned some details. He said the starting price for a Tesla pickup will be below $50,000, which is actually very affordable for a pickup. And the truck will have a range of at least 400 to 500 miles. Okay, Jim. We should also add that Ford also working on an electric version of the F-150,
right,
which happens to be the most popular vehicle sold in the U.S. last year. So it is game on. What do you make of a Tesla pickup truck?
So I think there are three concerns, but before I get to those, I want to add a couple of more interesting stats here, okay? So you mentioned the 400 to 500 mile range. That is with 6 people, presumably 6 adults in the cab, including Andre the Giant.
Okay, who is 7'4" or 7'5",
depending on who you ask. I believe Musk was the one who said that Andre the Giant could fit in the driver's seat, which implies a very large cab. I'm 6'3", and I have a hard time fitting into some driver's seats. Not of pickups, but of other cars.
Okay, so roomy interior. We like
very
that.
roomy interior with enough for 6 people. 300 and this is the one that kind of surprises me. A 300,000 pound towing capacity. And for comparison, this year's model of the F-150, the 2019, has a towing capacity with a special configuration of the truck of only 13,200 pounds. Okay?
Wow.
So to put that into context, as if everyone knows the size of a dinosaur, the T-Rex. So the Ford can haul about 1 T-Rex down the road.
Which is a lot.
Okay. But Tesla is saying that they're going to be able to put 20 T-Rexes on your trailer and the truck can haul it down the road.
Oh, hold on there. So you're saying if I need to haul multiple T-Rexes of an F-150, can't get it done?
No, not at all.
Well, oh my gosh.
What are we going to do? We have to buy a Tesla now.
To put in more familiar context, 300,000 pounds is about the weight of 4 fully loaded semi-trailers. Semi-trucks with trailers, with a gross vehicle weight of 80,000 pounds apiece.
But here's the thing.
So
I hear all of that, but the F-150 is so iconic. Ford is so iconic that I am incredibly skeptical. What's the word beyond incredibly skeptical? That a Tesla pickup truck will make it, especially in rural America. Because the moment they bust out this truck, if I'm Ford, I'm like, keep your powder dry. Our truck is coming out in a year or in 4 months or in 2 years, and I'm getting very specific.
I don't know what the word beyond totally skeptical is, unless somebody out there with a Roget's thesaurus can tell us. But my issues with this is when. Okay. The Model Y is not even production yet, right? And that's not expected until next year. And when might the truck actually be delivered? Musk isn't saying that it's going to start production. It's going to be unveiled, which means on a stage in a prototype and all that. And look how pretty it is, and start placing your orders today, folks. So when 2-3 years from now, maybe. That gives a lot of time for companies like GM, Ford, and Chevy to put out their own trucks. The price, $50,000. That's about mid-range for a pickup truck. Ranges
That's amazing.
Run about $30,000 to $70,000. But can Tesla actually get the same kind of levels of profits that the trucks deliver for Ford? A third of their sales revenue is from these pickup trucks among the 3 big Detroit automakers. And I'm sure a large amount of their profit is also coming from those trucks. Can Tesla match that profitability? I don't know.
Yeah, and here's the thing. 20 T-Rexes. I'll give it to them, right? The guy sent a car to space. Okay, you can have your 20 T-Rexes. Here's what I don't believe. The $50,000 price point. I feel like we've been there. We've done that. We've heard it. It's probably not happening, at least not that price.
So you're skeptical?
Yeah, the 20 T-Rexes, I will give him the 20 T-Rexes. That's being very, very generous. I'm skeptical of the price.
And what do you think, Emily, of my strategy? So let's say the moment they unveil this Tesla pickup truck and they start accepting orders, if you're Ford, wouldn't you also announce your version of an electric pickup truck and also start accepting orders? Because what you want to do is you want to freeze the game board. You don't want to lose anyone who would be tempted to buy that Tesla truck. And you don't have to make the sale right away. But if you say, hey, 2 years from now, we're going to have our own F-150 electric truck. You've heard of the F-150, and we will start accepting orders today.
Maybe, maybe not. A big driver of the sales of those F-150 pickup trucks is to farmers and small business owners who need the hauling capacity, who need the payload capacity, and so forth. And they also need the utility, ability to switch between hauling or payload or driving around town or what have you, as well as being easily repaired. And for farmers, easily repaired on site. And so with Tesla and their repair issues going on today, will they actually appeal to the farmers and to the small business owners, or will Ford come out and say, "Hey, yeah, Tesla announced that big pickup truck, but they're not targeting you, our core buyers of our trucks, and so we're coming out with something. If you want electric, we can give you electric. If you want diesel, we can give you diesel, and so on."
And if you're Tesla and you're hauling 20 T-Rexes, you may need some repairs.
Yeah, right.
Okay, one more bank shot for the Tesla story quickly. Emily, Tesla owners in China asking for refunds after Tesla got a 10% tax break. What do you make of that?
Well, I would do the same thing. Wouldn't you? Pass that savings on to me. But there's no way Tesla's actually going to be doing that. You know, they worked hard for that tax break. I think they're going to put them in a 25% tax bracket if they didn't get a cut there. So all of their auto parts. But no surprise there. I think that consumers want a little bit of that refund.
Never hurts to ask.
Never hurts to ask, exactly.
So that was actually a sales tax break that Tesla doesn't have to charge anymore and pay to the Chinese government. They are going to be still subject to December's proposed 25% tariff of importing cars, which is a big reason why Tesla is building that factory in Shanghai.
And for our final story, let's talk iPhones. Let's talk cheaper iPhones. Apple reportedly will introduce a new low-cost iPhone in 2020. Now, Emily and Jim, you may have heard iPhone sales slowing a bit recently, so that may be playing into this story. And I am proudly rocking my iPhone 6S with a battery life that seems to last, somewhere between 18 and 20 minutes. So I may be in the market for a new lower cost iPhone, but what do we think of this news?
I think that, Apple's done this before. So they've, when they launch out a new version of their iPhone, they will lower the price of their previous versions. They came out with the iPhone SE back in 2016 at $349 or $399, something like that was the price point. The current price of the iPhone 7 is $449, I believe, but the new iPhone X, 10, however you pronounce it, is $1,000 starting price, I understand. And so next Tuesday, when they have their announcement of all their new products, they're expected to announce a new phone that has a processor upgrade, more cameras. You can do ultra wide angle shots if you get the right version, better face identification, and something I think is really cool sounding is live video editing. As you're filming the video, you can edit it and crop it and resize it or
wow.
color correct or whatever. I don't know if that is already available on Android devices, but I've noticed that what Apple brings out is often what's already on Android. It certainly was with my Android S8, my Samsung S8.
But they make it seem like it's new.
Yeah,
That's the brilliance of Apple.
They do. So next year they'll likely come out with a cheaper phone, possibly the iPhone 8 will drop down to the price point of the $449, and consumers, I think Apple's running into what Dell ran into years ago, is that the phones are so good, you don't have to upgrade as often or even at all as you have not with your 6.
I just had the battery replaced, a couple years ago, and I'm probably due for another battery replacement. I should probably just get a new phone. But
yeah, was the iPhone X, iPhone 10? To Jim's point, I don't even think I know, because I was never going to pay $1,000 for it in the first place. So I do think this will appeal to consumers, but I also think consumers at this point are just happy that they're not doing what Samsung did, which was come out with a flip phone that
didn't flip
and it broke instead. So as long as the phone, I guess, doesn't flip, if it's not intended to flip and doesn't break, then consumers will probably be happy.
But Apple does need to do something. They are certainly losing market share. According to Gartner, they have a 10.5% market share after the end of the June quarter, and shipments had fallen 13.8% year over year over that. Meanwhile, Samsung was growing shipments 3.8% and has a little over 20% market share. And Huawei, the company that is that the federal government hates the most, apparently, its share is number 2 at 15.8%. So it's pulled ahead of Apple. And they had 16.5% growth, including 31% growth in China alone. And I'm just wondering if that's not possibly a reaction to Huawei being hated upon by the U.S. government and the Chinese consumers saying, yeah, we'll buy it anyway.
Well, Huawei also has a very, very strong international presence around other parts of Asia as well. I actually just got back from a trip to Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Huawei stores in all of those places. Didn't see one McDonald's, by the way, but saw lots of Huawei stores. So if that tells you anything, it's that Huawei has penetrated a lot of developing countries much better than Apple has.
Well, let's wrap up with the desert island question. You're on a desert island. There's not a lot going on. So you're gonna buy a stock, and you're gonna hold that stock for the next 5 years.
As you said, not
your
much
choices
is going on.
And your choices are Alphabet, the parent company of Google, Tesla, or Apple.
Ooh.
I'm going to go with Alphabet. I think the company's market share and leadership position in the advertising space is so big, and that there's not a compelling reason for the consumer for Alphabet to be broken up. So I'm going to go with Alphabet.
You're not gonna go Tesla, Jim?
Nah.
I will also have to agree with Jim that I think I'd be buying Google at this point. I just think about how important they are to everyday life. And to Jim's point, this is a consumer-facing company, and consumers love the product. So I think it would do great detriment to the consumer experience if something like Google were to be broken up.
Do you think, in terms of stocks we talk about, is Tesla the single most polarizing stock? It feels that way.
Definitely.
It feels like you've got people on both sides, and someone is going to be fabulously right, and someone else is going to be fabulously wrong, or maybe not fabulously. Maybe it'll just kind of have a if it
what if it's just a middle of the road performer, right? What if Tesla 10 years from now, it's not the car maker, but it's also not bankrupt?
But it just doesn't feel like Musk. It doesn't feel like that's even an option. I feel like he's like go big or go home.
That's true.
So it's either going to succeed beyond everyone's wildest expectations,
like 20 T-Rexes or no T-Rexes.
Exactly.
There's no two T-Rexes for them.
I'm going to push back on your framing. I mean, right and wrong. Right or wrong is not the way to look at it. You should be looking at it as, how can I make money investing in this company?
That's true.
Do I invest as a short side?
That's what I meant by right and wrong.
As a long side. And judging it as right or wrong gets your emotions involved, and that just clouds everything.
No, you're right. That's shorthand for when I say someone's going to be right, I feel like someone is either
but with Tesla shareholders,
make a lot of money or potentially lose a lot of money.
But with a lot of Tesla shareholders, that's exactly how they view it. I'm right because I own the shares.
Okay, so you think the emotions get in the way?
I think they do, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I think you need to hear more things like 20 T-Rex towing capacity, because then I'm like, okay, you know what? That gets me interested. But then I'm looking at my F-150. I don't have one. But if I had an F-150, it's going to take a whole lot for me to get rid of my F-150 for a Tesla pickup truck. Like
19 T-Rexes maybe?
I don't know. I just how many T-Rexes at the end of the day?
How many is your breaking point?
Well, here's another one. Instead of 20 T-Rexes, what if you want 2 space shuttles?
Wow.
Ooh,
wow.
More compelling.
Bring in the modern thing, and hey, SpaceX might be interested.
Yeah. I guess it depends. When is the all-electric F-150 coming out? Because I'm curious.
I don't know, but I know they're working on it.
It's game on. It'll be fun to watch. Jim and Emily, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
As always, people on the show may have interest in the stocks they talk about, and the Motley Fool may have formal recommendations for or against. So don't buy or sell stocks based solely on what you hear. That's it for this edition of Market Foolery. The show is mixed by Dan Boyd. I'm Matt Greer. Thanks for listening, and we will see you tomorrow.